Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new show on Living Naturally with Michaela Live, where we talk about all things for living a naturally healthy life. And welcome to today's episode, where we'll be exploring how creative expression can help us develop deeper self compassion. I'm joined today by the wonderful Marian, a holistic practitioner and healing arts expert who has helped many people connect with themselves through creative practices. If you've ever struggled with self judgment, felt stuck in your emotions, or thought, I'm just not creative, this episode is for you. We often hear about self care, but self compassion is just as important, especially when we're navigating challenges. Creativity isn't just about being an artist, it's a way of expressing emotions, releasing inner tension, and connecting with our authentic selves. So, we'll be diving into why creativity is a powerful healing tool, how to overcome the fear of not being good enough, and simple ways to bring self expression into your daily life. Marianne and I will also share some practical exercises, so stay tuned. All right, welcome, Marianne. Thank you for being here again this week. I am so excited for this conversation. And as usual, I am so excited to have you here with me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So, as usual, when I chat with Mary Ann, she is the author of these awesome healing card decks. So, I generally would like to ask her to pick a card for us for today to set the intention for our show. So, Mary Ann, do you have a card for us today?
I do. And the card that comes up today is called Flight of Freedom. Would you like me? Will I read out the message?
Yes, please do.
So, this powerful surge of energy signifies you're breaking free from any limitations to soar into a realm of boundless possibilities where your spirit can truly express itself. Your exhilarating release from any constraints empowers you to capture your authentic self and navigate life with newfound liberation and joy. As you embrace your flight of freedom, you let go of all fears and doubts, which allows you to rise and explore the vast horizons of your extraordinary potential. And it's like this is the image and the message and the frequency number. And of course, the frequency number really does, when you set that in motion, it helps you to let go of the fear. So the frequency number is 831-338-181. 831-338-181. So Flight of Freedom. It actually fits in quite nicely with what we're talking about today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I just love how I personally don't think there's ever any coincidences. I feel like when you put an intention out there and you're asking for wisdom and guidance, you will get it. And there are all different kinds of ways to get that wisdom and guidance. And I love that your cards fit so easily with everything that we try to do here. And so that card just resonates really well with the discussion that we want to have today. So thank you so much for offering that card. All right, so let's just dive in. So we're going to start with, understanding self-compassion and its role in healing. So what is self-compassion? Let's start with that. And why do we struggle with it? So self-compassion means treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we offer to a friend. But why is that so hard for many of us? We will often extend, compassion to others around us, and we will do anything for them. We will be there for them, but we don't extend that same compassion to ourselves. So I think that's very important for us to discuss today. So from a mind-body perspective, self-judgment activates the stress response, which keeps us stuck in patterns of tension and self-criticism. And I think that self-criticism is part of what prevents us from offering ourselves that self-compassion. And many people feel that they have to earn kindness towards themselves rather than see their birthright as something that they innately they innately deserve. Okay, so there's always this mindset of what we deserve and what we don't deserve, and I think many of us come from a place where we don't feel like we deserve compassion, um, compassion from others. And when we can't, when we feel like we don't deserve compassion from others, we also don't show that compassion to ourselves because we feel like we don't deserve it. But we will give that compassion freely to other people. So, Marianne, in your experience, how does creative expression help people shift from self judgment to self compassion?
Well, if you think what you said about this self-compassion, um, when you start noticing how you feel, okay, that's the first point about noticing how you feel. And then if you're feeling bewildered or upset or anything like that, you have to figure out, well, is it yours or does it belong to somebody else? Is somebody else making you feel that way? Or are you allowing yourself to make yourself feel that way? And as you say about the judgment, I think about when you judge, you won't budge. Okay, so we do it that way. Because when you're in that judgment role or mode, then you get stuck, and then it's harder to let go. So first thing, notice how you feel. Do you own it? If you own it, then you can do something about it. Changing how you think will change how you feel. And as you say, giving yourself that compassion or that love that you need for yourself, and sometimes people will find that difficult enough to do, but when you start doing it, it gets easier. Getting started is the hard part. Keeping it going is the easier part. It's like when you start riding a bike, the first cycle that you do is harder because you're unsteady. But once you get moving, you've got that momentum,
Yeah.
So getting started. So think about when you judge, particularly yourself, you won't budge. You're going to get stuck, and that will stop you and block you. So what I find for me is the art, because it's expressing what I'm feeling, I'm expressing it out and painting it out. And sometimes it's only a pencil drawing or a little doodle, anything like that, that just stops me from running myself down. So I'm breaking free.
Yeah.
So see yourself as breaking free from the shackles that I have put on myself. Not that somebody else has put on, but so if I put on the shackles on myself, then I can take them off,
Yeah.
That's the important thing is reflection, look at yourself and just say, okay, what can I do about this? Am I going to do something about it?
Yeah.
And when I am, then what will I do? And it can be as simple as think of a time in your life when you just, you cracked yourself up laughing over something. You might have stubbed your toe and, called yourself all the lovely names under the sun, and that the funny incidents will break the cycle. As you say, you're in that fight flight mode. So it breaks the fight flight. And now you're into that lovely, relaxing, healing, rejuvenation mode. So that's what we can do. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's up to us.
It absolutely is. One thing that jumped out at me as you were talking, you said you were talking about the shackles and putting the shackles on ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very poignant point, is that we often do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a saying that, we're our own worst enemy. So we are putting those limitations on ourselves. And if we put them on ourselves, if we put those shackles on, we can certainly break them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but the desire has to be there. And it does take, a shift to be able to do that. But I think awareness is probably the first step to that, is being
Yeah.
aware that these are the things that you're saying to yourself. This is where you're stuck, where you're holding yourself in place. These are the shackles that you are placing on yourself, and only you can break them.
Yeah.
Only you
And
can
it's,
break
it's interesting now that we're talking about shackles. One of my paintings I think it's my deck 4, I have 2 hands like this, and I have chains around the wrist,
them.
but I have the chains smashed, so it's like breaking free.
Mhm.
I think the name of that card is called Whispers from Beyond, I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But so it's interesting, but if we put the shackles on, well, then we can take them off.
Exactly. Exactly. You just have to make a choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to stay in that place, or are you going to make an effort to move forward and move all of that?
Hmm. Yeah.
Which brings me to our next point, and it's about using creativity as a pathway to self discovery and emotional release. Now, Marianne and I have had many, many conversations on using creativity as a way to release emotional blocks that we have in things like that. But being creative can be a tool for so many other things, including self discovery. So, creative activities, whether it's journaling or painting or movement or music or whatever else, it allows us to process the emotions in a way that words sometimes cannot. A lot of people believe that in order to release emotional barriers and release emotions, you have to talk about it. And so it makes them uncomfortable. So a lot of people will stay in that place because they feel like they have to talk about it. And many times they either don't want to talk about it or they don't know what to say about it.
Mm.
And using creative activities is a way for you to break that without having to go into verbal mode.
Yeah.
And science has shown that engaging in creativity shifts the brain into a meditative state, which is what we were talking about earlier, that fight or flight, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And in essence, it also helps reduce stress and increase emotional resilience. And I often see, in the work that I do, that emotions get stored in the body. That's one of the things I talk about a lot, is about how emotions and trauma gets stored in the body. And that's part of what, contributes to the body stress and the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, and which leads to inflammation, chronic inflammation, which leads to disease. And so when you pull it all back, it comes down to these emotional issues that you're just holding on to, that's getting stuck in the body. And just being able to release these bundles of emotional energy from the body can go a long way in your overall health. And using creativity is a great way to help release all that emotional energy without having to, like, oh, I got to find somebody to talk to. Oh, I got to, let somebody get all into, what's going on in my past, or, and you don't have to do all that. There are things that now, don't get me wrong. Some people do need that. Okay. So I'm just going to say that. Okay. I'm not saying, don't seek a therapist if you need it, that kind of thing. But I'm just saying there are other tools that you can use on your own that can help you release some of that stuck energy, if you will. So,
Mm.
Marianne, you created the Healing Card Decks, which I absolutely love, and you teach intuitive art as well. And your decks were actually born from your kind of intuitive art. You're creating these paintings and everything. How do
Yeah.
you see these tools helping people access their emotions? And what advice would you give to someone who feels like they aren't creative? That's another thing I see is when I try to tell people, it's like, do something creative. They're like, oh, I'm not creative, especially because I tend to attract the type of clients that are very practical. They always feel like they're not creative. And I kind of feel like everyone has something they can be creative or something they can use to explore their self-expression. So, what tools, you know, I'm just going to let you take this part over. So,
Yeah.
what do you see? What advice would you give, for those ones that are saying, I'm not creative?
Well, I can remember a client saying to me, well, I can't paint, because when she came to me, she was stuck, and she was a therapist herself, and she had stopped her clientele coming because she felt she couldn't deal with them. And I did my session with her, and at the end of it, I said, okay, we're going to paint. Now, I think I might have told you this story before, but I think it's appropriate. So anyway, she said, well, I can't paint. I said, well, you're not going to paint. You're just going to play with color. So we chose the colors. And just before she started, because I get everybody to put their hands in the paint and play with the color, just with both hands. Because when you do both hands together, you're activating your right brain and your left brain, brain integration. So anyway, she said, you're going to have to tell me what to do. And I said, no, I said, you're just going to play. So she did. She put her hands in the paint, and her painting looked like the tree of life. You know that painting like the tree of life?
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. When we were finished, I took a photograph of the painting. And when you can expand the painting on your phone and it blows it up?
Yeah.
Here in the bottom right-hand corner was a little portrait painting of her dog, Prince, who had passed. And she missed him like crazy, right? So it was like as if Prince had signed her painting for her. Now, she painted it, but she painted it from the subconscious, and Prince came into this painting. And she was so blown away by that. She was so emotional about that. But the heel of the story is she went back home, and she went back to work. She called her clients, and she reset her appointments. But the other thing was, I was doing another painting one day, and as I was painting, I didn't see what came out. I looked at the painting the next day, and the next day I saw this painting of a puppy dog's face in the top right-hand corner of my painting. I'm saying to myself, oh, now that I've seen it, I can't not unsee it, So I took some paint, and I brought out the puppy dog. And it was interesting because I had done this painting in a workshop. And so there were other people in the workshop. And when I sent the painting back to everybody that was in the workshop, one of the ladies said, that's my dog, Patch. And Patch also had passed. And it was just amazing. But if you said earlier about the word emotion, right? If you take the E of the emotion, what are you left with?
Motion.
Motion. So it's movement. So when you move, whether it's walking, dancing, if you like, rollerblading, skiing, whatever it is, just movement, you are activating, you're getting the body into its normal state, which is that movement. So movement will move mountains, So if you're feeling stuck, move. Now, the other thing I love doing is I love knitting. I mean, that's my passion is knitting, right? But when I'm knitting, I do it when I'm on the trampoline. So it brings a whole new connotation to the word jumper, So I'm knitting, but that's what I love doing. So I love that. But that's my meditation as well. But it can be, art isn't for everybody. So whatever you love doing, just do it. Whatever you love doing, do it, and you will change how you feel.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Whenever I come across clients that they express that they're feeling stuck, whether it's in life or in business or whatever, I often encourage them to get creative in some way, because creativity is not just about art. It's also about being able to create the life that you want. Often in the work that I do, because I also do a lot of energy work with people, I come across, it's an energy that's And of course, we're trying to put human names on, energy frequencies, but it's an energy called creative insecurity. And that often comes up when people are having a hard time envisioning and creating the life that they want, whether that's, through business or finance or or family or whatever, is that creative insecurity that comes up, and it lends itself to feeling stuck all the time. So many times when I have clients that are feeling stuck, I will tell them, find something to do that's creative. It doesn't matter what it is. You can doodle on a piece of paper. You can you know finger paint, like you did when you were a kid. You can, I'm a big proponent of the adult coloring books that are so popular right now. It's
Mm.
like, do anything that creates, that will engage your mind and your brain, and bring you up to out of that fight or flight mode. Bring
Yeah,
that creative expression will help bring you up into that more meditative state, that ventral state. If if I work in polyvagal theory stuff too, so and they call it the ventral state. It's like the up state, out of the stress state, but in the
right.
upstate. And that's where you can really envision your life and see the possibilities. So being able to be creative can help you see the possibilities. And of course, this whole conversation is about self compassion. And I feel like if we can start to see the possibilities in our lives, we can be more compassionate to ourselves as well.
Yeah. And
So,
it's so important, really. We don't fully, and you don't have to understand how it works, but just
right.
having the compassion for yourself and being kinder to yourself. I do that now, whereas, many years ago I didn't, but I didn't realize the damage I was doing to myself, until I made that realization. And it's so important to, as you said earlier, be as kind to yourself as you would be to somebody else,
Yeah.
and I in fact would say even be kinder to yourself and
Yeah.
putting yourself first. It's really so important. But even with, if I just even think of like an action, like a brain gym action, and many people don't know what brain gym is, but again, it's getting the brain switched on. And I would use this quite a bit. The figure eight.
Hmm.
So if you take the figure eight and you lie it down, then it becomes a lazy eight.
Yeah.
Okay, right? And I get people to put their thumb out and look at their thumb, and you draw the figure eight, but your head stays so steady, and the only thing that's following your thumb are your eyes,
Mm.
and you're integrating the left and right brain. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you can use, if you see here behind me, my door frame, you can
Hmm.
actually stand in front of a door frame and have the door frame is where you line yourself up, and then you can do this figure eight. But the only thing, follow your thumb, and you do your right hand, then you do your left hand, and then you do your two hands together. And what that does is it brings about a whole new increased state of awareness and of changing how you're feeling. It'll change how you feel. So even if you don't want to take out something to be creative, that's being creative
Yeah.
without having. Or you could, people do this air guitar. They just pretend they're
Yeah.
playing guitar,
Yeah.
put some music on, and pretend that you're playing the music.
Yeah.
Dance around to the music. It can be anything. Just once you change, when you change how you think, you'll change how you feel. There's no doubt
Absolutely.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that exercise that you offered, and those of you who are watching and listening, you should really take that under advisement. That's very close to a tool that I often give my clients, which is kind of a vagus nerve reset, and it's basically you don't follow the eyes, but I love that that you're sharing something that I believe it also helps the vagus nerve as well, and it's like integrating everything. And the vagus nerve reset that I often use is, basically I tell you, it's like you just sit with your head straight, and then you move just your eyes to the right as far as you can, and then just hold it there until you get a deep breath or deep sigh. It's going to be like an automatic breath. And I always tell everybody, it's like, you're going to know it when you get it. So, and then you do the same thing on the left side. You move your eyes only to the left as far as you can, hold it there until you get that deep breath or deep sigh. And that helps reset that vagus nerve, which brings you up out of that stress state into that meditative state. And that's one of the things that people can do, anywhere, So I'm all about giving people different little things they can do that they can put in their tool belt that they can use whenever they need to, because stress is one of the main factors in every disease that we have.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that when we're in a stress state, again, it makes it hard for us to be compassionate to ourselves because we're so busy beating ourselves up because we're so stressed.
Yeah.
So having those extra tools to get out of that stress state is always going to be beneficial, whether you're trying to be creative or not. So take those and file them away so you can use those when you need them.
Mm. Good advice. Good advice.
All right. So now let's talk a little bit about breaking through the inner resistance to creativity and self kindness. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Anytime we try to change something, there's always going to be resistance. Okay. Our brains are wired to keep us safe. And so it will often resist change. So there's always going to be resistance. However, how you handle that resistance is going to be, your game changer. So one of the biggest barriers to self-compassion, I feel, is the inner critic. That voice that says you're not good enough, or you're not worthy, or you don't deserve it, or any of those, iterations of that type of sentiment. And so when we're trying to be creative, creativity can bring up fears of failure or not doing it right. But the beauty of self expression is that there's no right or wrong way. And that's what I want everyone to understand. And so releasing judgment in creativity um, mirrors how we can release judgment in life too. So what I'm saying is that if we can stop judging our creative endeavors or what we choose to be creative in, if we can break that resistance, that barrier to judging what we're doing, then we have a chance at breaking um, judging ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It,
So, I'm sure you work with people who struggle with their inner critic. You were already talking about the client, when it's like, we're going to paint. She's like, I don't know how to paint.
mhm.
Um, so how do you help guide your clients through that type of resistance?
Well, it's interesting, because as a kinesiologist, you can test and you can show a person that when they make a statement, if they make the statement, I'm not good enough, and their body says, yes, I'm not good enough, it's confirming what they're saying to themselves, and it's helping them to change that. But sometimes, as you say, fear of failure, fear can stop and block you as well. But if you use the fear as a fuel to drive you through to getting what you want, or getting out of that fight flight modality. It's a dreadful place to stay in. And I mean, I was in it for many, many years. I didn't realize that's what was happening. I mean, that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing, because I had to find a way out. So I found the way out. But when you use that fear as it drives you to your freedom. It's so amazing when I say, look, do what you fear, and then you have overcome that fear. It no longer has a hold over you. You control it now. So you have the freedom to move forward and to do what it is you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about another principle that I feel like goes along with that fear, and I'm guilty of this one myself, so I know it very well. It's perfectionism. I think that will also sometimes hold us back and presents a lot of self judgment as well, particularly when we're trying to be creative or even just trying to just address anything in life, because somewhere, generally it comes from the past. Lots of times it comes from upbringing and things that life has taught you. There is this level of perfectionism that you just want everything to be just right, and I think that holds us back as well. What do you feel about perfectionism? Do you feel like that's also something that can hold someone back from enjoying the creative process? And what would you say to someone who was just like, I just wanted to be just right, So
Well, the thing is, if you wait for it to be right, you'll never get there. I mean, I, I jump in, I do it, and then I think about what have I done? Why did I do this? Because I've started it now, but that just seems to be my persona. But I do know people who they will say, well, the time isn't right, or I'm not ready, or it's not right. There is no right time. Just do it. I always think of, and here's the sign I'll leave you with, the Nike sign, just do it. Yeah, just do it. Because when you start doing, okay, it may not be the way you wanted it to be, but it's a start. I mean, just before I came on now, I started a new project, and I was saying to myself, well, if I started now before I get on the show with Michaela, I'll have started it, and then it'll be just a matter of picking up when we're finished speaking today, So I am a doer. Yeah, I do think about things, but I do first and then think afterwards, which is, that's just my way of doing things. But I find that, that self-command, if you are feeling, well, I'm not good enough, or who do I think I am? Just say, stop. I'm not doing that to myself anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be putting myself down. I wouldn't put somebody else down, so therefore I'm not going to do it to me, And, I've lived this, so I know what I'm speaking about it. I've come through all of that. So it's a self-command. When I see myself maybe going back into an old habit, I will say, no, stop. I'm not doing that anymore. Been there, done that. It didn't, it's like driving down the road and you drive into a cul-de-sac. There's no way out, or a rabbit hole, or something.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. So don't keep doing the same old, same old. Do something that will float your boat, that will make you feel good. And there is no comfort in the comfort zone. So get used to that, step out of your own way and allow yourself to be the best version of yourself. Just do it and watch what happens. You'll be amazed at how strong you become. I'm amazed at how I have progressed to where I am right now by doing what I'm suggesting here and now. Just be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, I agree. I went through my own trajectory where I was trying to get past perfectionism. And the thing is that I come from a tech background, so I have that very analytical, and it's like things are supposed to go like this, and there's a method for everything, and so perfectionism often held me back from a lot of stuff that I was trying to do because it's like I wanted to be just right before I showed it to anyone or before I presented it, and that led to procrastination where there didn't really need to be any procrastination. And I eventually started adopting a mindset of good enough. So
Yeah.
rather than trying to achieve perfection, I started just like, okay, it's good enough because it's like, you know, it's never going to be perfect. You can always change it, you can
Yeah.
always adjust it. So just go
Do
for
it.
good enough. And
Mm.
then if you start with good enough, you'll start to let go of that perfectionism, and things have to be just right. So one of the things that I would like to put out to the viewers and the listeners, if you're listening to this later, I want you to try this. I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath, and then just scribble or doodle whatever comes to mind for 30 seconds. Just grab a piece of paper, a notebook, printer paper, whatever, and a pencil, pen, doesn't matter, highlighter, marker, whatever you can get. And just close your eyes and doodle for 30 seconds. Okay? So no rules, no movement, just movement, and see how it feels. When there's no attachment of what it looks like or what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to look or anything like that. See how that feels to you. That could be your first step in breaking this perfection or this fear of what it's going to look like. And it has to be just right. There is no right or wrong, it just is. So embrace that. And this exercise will help you to be able to embrace that.
That's a
So,
good one. That's a great one. Yeah, a really good one. And you're describing the heart art that's painting from the subconscious, because there is no rules, there are no regulations. You just play with the color, and whatever comes out comes out. That's it. But
yeah.
what I would say is, if when somebody is speaking, just listen to what you're saying, because we'll say take the word trying, okay? Because I said about doing the Nike symbol, just do it. This Nike symbol, just do it. Trying, if you try and do something, you might turn out and say, well, that didn't work, right? So trying presupposes failure in advance.
Yes.
Trying presupposes failure in advance. So trying something, you'll say, well, it didn't work. Doing something, so just don't try it, just do it. And if
Yes.
you hear yourself using the word, well, I'll try it, I won't allow anyone to say, I'll try it. I'll say, no, you don't try it, just do
Just
it.
do it.
Yeah. And listen to your language, and listen to what, if you're saying, well, I'll try that, just say, no, I'm not going to try it, I'm just going to do it. And
Yes.
whatever it turns out like, that's the way it turns out. And if it's not to your liking, then you can do it again until it becomes more to your liking. And that's how
Yeah.
you perfect things over time.
Yeah.
So just do it.
Yep. Just do it. There you go. Just do it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's chat now a little bit about creating a daily self-compassion practice through art and expression. So we're giving you all of these tools and everything, but they're not going to do any good if you don't actually put them into practice. And I have found that putting something in a daily practice can help you form a habit, and then those habits contribute to the shift that you're looking for, because you can do something once and it's not going to do anything. So consistency is the key. So self-compassion isn't something that we practice once. It should be a daily habit that we cultivate, just like creativity or anything else that we're trying to accomplish. If you're learning to play an instrument, You have to practice it daily. One lesson is not going to make a difference, but over time, it gets better and better and better. So, practicing self compassion, I feel like if we practice it daily, we will get better at showing ourselves that compassion. So, even like 5 minutes of writing or painting or movement, 5 minutes a day, just a little bit of 5 minutes a day can shift your mindset and help you connect with yourselves. And, I personally often recommend, you know, pairing creative expression with affirmations or movement to reinforce the positive emotions, because yeah, you can read the affirmation or the positive quote and it may sink in a little bit, but when you combine that with a movement at the same time, it's like it's extra potent, because there is the thought and then there's the movement that goes together, and so it helps it to sink in a little bit more. I find that this works really well with for people who are struggling to make those changes. It's like, um, I personally love affirmations, but they don't always work for everyone because they don't sink in deep enough. For many people, it's just words, but it's not the affirmations themselves, it's what you do with them. So if you can combine it with the movement, I find that it works better, because many times, I talked about the mind body connection a lot, and emotions gets stuck in the body, and proper movement can actually help you release that emotions and the trauma in the body. So if movement can help you release that negative stuff, movement can also help you put the positive stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how I feel about it.
Mm.
So, Marian, okay, so since we're talking about daily stuff, I've done like shows about rituals and practices and all that kind of stuff. So, do you have any favorite creative rituals that you feel like can help people develop their own personal self compassion practice?
Yeah, well, I started mine a few years ago when I created my cards. I decided, well, I didn't know how they worked because I created them and I needed to know how they worked. So I took a journal out and I wrote down the number one and what was my intention for choosing a card. And I wrote out whatever card came up and the frequency number, card two, card three. I do that every morning, Michaela. The first thing I do when I get up is to do my journal. And I remember years ago, a friend saying to me, about journaling, and I was saying, oh, I couldn't do that if you paid me, But I needed to do it because I needed to find out how do my cards work. I'm on card number 4,438 today.
Yeah.
I know how many cards I chose for myself because I kept a record of them. I'm in journal number 6. I have 6 journals now coming to the end of that. And that's and the one thing I love about it is like research and development for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen where it has brought me, that daily habit, that ritual of giving myself that space and time just to, first of all, the intention. I set my intention for the day. Like it would be, I'm meeting you today. I had another 2 or 3 meetings earlier today. So I'm meeting XYZ person, and how can I help them to be, what can I do to help them? What can I do to help myself? And then I set my intention and then I do my cards. And I am just blown away by how it just works,
Yeah.
The positive intention is like, for me, it's like the sat nav. It's your sat nav that you're setting for where you want to be, where you want to go, and the outcome that you want. Because if you don't have an idea of where you want to be, or if you're not the master of your own destiny, then who is?
Yeah.
Don't allow the universe to bring you anywhere. You decide, this is where I am now, and this is where I want to be, and you make it happen by your intention that you set. So even just doing that on a daily basis, it would be a fantastic start for someone. So if you're not currently doing it, get a brand new notebook, start and just say, okay, this is what I want. And just write down the things you do want and forget about the things that you don't.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I personally also have a deck of Marianne's cards that she was talking about, and those cards are actually really good for journaling prompts. That you can use. If you don't have a pack of cards, you can use other things for journaling prompts. But I do also believe that journaling, just even a little bit each morning, can be a great way to help break free, if you
Mhm.
will. As Marianne said, write down, what do I want? That's a good place to start. You don't have to have anything fancy. What do I want? What do I want to accomplish this day? What is my intention for this day? What are some ways that I can show myself compassion today? Those are easy things that you can start with that can help you break those shackles that we were talking about earlier in the episode, and to be able to allow your creative juices to flow. And the reason why I keep talking, I keep saying creative, and I know that probably still kind of grates for some people, because they still probably feel like, I'm not creative, and there's a pushback, a resistance against the word creative itself. And so I intentionally keep using the word creative, because I want you to start thinking in different terms of being creative isn't necessarily about just art. I'm trying to help you change your mindset. It's not just about art. Yes, art is a creative activity, and being creative in art can help you be creative in life. Being creative is, the base word is create. So, what is it that you're trying to create? And we have to have self compassion for ourselves in order to create what it is we really desire and what we really want. Because having no compassion for ourselves and having compassion for others, we we have all of our energy going out and none of that energy coming in. And we need our own energy to grow and develop as well. And there is a saying that you can't fill from the empty cup. So you're out there filling up everyone else's cup. But what's filling your cup? Think about that for a moment.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And the creative process as well, Michaela, can just be, and this is what has happened with myself, because I said earlier, I'm a doer. So for me to just sit and just stop, I will sit, I'll stop, and I will think about in my mind what I want, where I want to be. I can visualize where I want to be, what I'm doing. So, and I'll create it in my head. Now,
Mhm.
your brain does not understand that you are not doing that. As far as your brain is concerned, you're doing it. You are currently doing it. And this has been scientifically proven. So when you want to create something, create it in your mind, see it, feel it, attach a strong emotion to it. And your brain has no idea that you're sitting in your chair and you're not moving a muscle. But you are literally, I said earlier about your GPS, your sat nav, you are setting your sat nav on the outcome that you're looking for and that you are going to achieve. And the chances are you're going to do that. That's what happens when you do it. But do it often enough so that it becomes your ritual and your habit. So dream your dreams into your reality and
Yeah,
watch your magic happen.
there you go. You heard it here, folks. Dream your dream and watch it become reality. So you mentioned science. So we're going to jump into the science a little bit because I am the science girl. So I love science. Okay. So I have a lot of clients that they're like, I don't understand it. And we talked, and earlier today, it was like, you know what? You don't really have to understand it. Just have to believe in it and trust that it works. Um, I love stories about Nikola Tesla. He's like basically considered like the father of quantum physics, and and energy work, and and all of that stuff. But that's another discussion for another day. Uh, but there is science behind creativity and well-being. And that's what I like to talk about a little bit about, because again, I'm the science girl. I like to know the science behind things. Coming from the tech background, it's science. So studies have shown that engaging in creative activities boosts our dopamine levels, helps reduce anxiety, and even helps with emotional regulation. So creativity engages, as Marianne said earlier, the right brain, which is associated with intuition, emotions, and problem solving. Okay. So, for instance, if you're having issues trying to solve a big problem that you have, being creative in some way can actually help you solve that problem. Think about that for a moment. Um, and from a holistic perspective, when we give ourselves permission to express creativity and express ourselves, we open the door to healing. And ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's the healing perspective and being able to self heal. Because if we are not showing ourselves self compassion, there is something in us that is still unhealed that needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
And being creative in some way, as small as that sounds, being creative in some way can open up all those doors, break those shackles, and unlock all of that healing potential. So, Marianne, what have you observed in your own practice about the link between creativity and emotional well-being? I know you've worked with a lot of people, and I know your cards have helped a lot of people. So, can you share any fascinating insights about how, different art forms can impact the mind and body? You know, you know, just, whatever.
Well,
I just want to hear some of your stories here.
well, on a personal basis, I mean, the way I painting from the subconscious has set me free. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And, when I think about even like with the book I wrote, Love to Change, then Change to Love. And it's all about my art and how it actually helped me. And I have a written quotation there of how I felt as I painted each painting.
Mhm.
But I think I'll bring you back to the story I told yourself and viewers before, that one evening, a 15-year-old, after painting from the subconscious, said, when I asked, "How do you feel after painting?" And he said, "I feel as if I've been set free from a 25-year prison sentence."
Wow.
And his second painting was of a sunflower, and over the sunflower he had written "New Life." That will always stay with me, because people often say to me, I don't know what it is, but the painting looks dreadful, but I feel so light and so free. So it's not about what comes out in the painting. It's about how you feel after you've painted
Yeah.
or doodled or just, done something creative. And it has been scientifically proven in universities. I don't know, I can't remember which one now. There's a specific study that I had followed, but I can't remember the name of the university. But it's scientifically proven. But you don't have to scientifically prove it to me, because I've experienced it personally and professionally, and I have seen the results. It is incredible. So do yourself a favor and do something creative for yourself.
Yeah. I too have experienced it for myself as well. It often there's been times when I have just felt like just totally stuck. And I just decided, okay, I'm just going to my friends think I'm weird, but it's like I'm just going to pick up some other new, creative thing to try. I like trying different things, so but recently, you mentioned knitting. Recently, I picked up the crochet needle again. And I just like sitting and doing crochet, and it helps release the fog in my mind, and it opens up creative possibilities for other things. So, me being able to be creative in making my own art, whether it's yarn art or whatever, has helped me to be creative in other areas in life, which allowed me to, finish my book, and, do this and do that. And the only thing I changed was deciding that I needed to take time to just do something creative, to just let my mind be free, to not be so bogged down into business and life's problems or issues or whatever, and just do something fun, something that it didn't matter what the outcome of it was. It was just the process of just doing
Yeah.
something fun, something that allowed me to express myself in some way. And that's what we're talking about. Creativity, again, doesn't have to be about art. It's about self-expression. What way can you express yourself best? That's what you need to look for. What are some ways you can express yourself? And then go do those. It's like if you like martial arts, go express yourself in martial arts. Go express yourself in some Tai Chi. If you like yoga, go express yourself in yoga. If you like writing, go express yourself in writing. If you like, doodling, go express yourself in doodling or Zentangle. If you like painting, go express yourself in painting. If you like cooking, go express yourself in cooking or baking. Any of those things can be creative in nature that can help break those shackles and free yourself and be able to give yourself that self-compassion that you need in order to move forward in your life and be able to fill your own cup before you fill somebody else's cup. So we're coming to the end of our time. I am going to let Marianne have the last word here. So what would you like to leave our audience with today, Marianne?
Well, just recently I have developed flip your frequency, because when you flip your frequency from being off to being on, you now have the energy to do what it is you want to do. So your energy, your vibration is either low or it's high. So flip it to being on, which is high vibrational level energy. What you said about Nikola Tesla, if you want to find the secrets in the universe, think of energy, frequency,
Yes.
and vibration.
One
Okay.
of my favorite quotes. Yes.
Flip your frequency to on. It's like switching on a light switch. Switch it on, and then you can see everything that you want to see and go do it. Just think about, if I leave you with, flip your frequency and just do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. So, to reiterate, self-compassion isn't about being perfect. It's about giving yourself grace in every moment. And creativity is one of the most accessible ways to tap into self-kindness and healing. I challenge you to take 5 minutes a day for creative expression. Doodle, write, sing, dance, whatever feels right for you. Just try it. Let us know in the comments what's your favorite way to express yourself creatively. Creatively. And if you tried one of our creative exercises, we would like to know that too. So, a huge thank you to Marianne for sharing her wisdom today. And if you want to learn more about Marianne's work, you can check out her website at marianegan.ie. Check out her YouTube channel as well. She has some great videos on there of her painting, doing some of the paintings that are on her card decks, which is very awesome. And yeah, and check out my stuff as well if you would like. If you're interested in finding out about my newest book or whatever, but just go try something creative. You it will do wonders for you. Okay, so that is it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this discussion, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share, so more people can join this journey of self-compassion and healing. And until next time, remember, wellness isn't a destination, it's your daily journey. Bye for now. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Living Naturally for Life and Heart Art Magic. Comment, like, subscribe.